Welcome to
Hello,
Blake.
everybody. Welcome to Blake's.
Hello, hello. Welcome. My name is Ariana. This is Beatrice. And we're Blix. And today we have our first sex positive education interview here. We are gonna host on our website world's best teachers and facilitators and offer their amazing online courses on our website experienceblix.com/resources. Today we welcome Sanya from sanyalaya.com and Luna from centralartistry.com, two fellow sisters and dear friends from Berlin and Copenhagen. And we're going to talk with them for about half an hour about them, their becoming, their evolution, and their mutual course, The Art of Tantric Kink. Welcome, ladies. This is a very special interview to Beatrice and me because the four of us, we have a lot in common on a personal level. We are like, all the four of us, I think we lived 40 lives or something, isn't it? Yeah, with all the travelings, being nomads, being to many places, doing a lot of different things. And on a professional level, we all feel called to work on this intersection of Tantra and BDSM, what we call conscious kink. And it's gonna be super fun. So thank you for being here.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, feel very welcome. And let's start by briefly introducing each one of you. So I could do that, but you better do it yourself. So Sanya, if you want to start.
Sure. So yeah, I'm Sanya, and I work as a sexual empowerment coach and somatic life coach, and doing a lot of tantric body work, de-armoring, yoni mapping, lingam work, but also I do give workshops around the topic of tantric kink. And yeah, I'm based in Berlin at the moment, and yeah, I think that's the main things for now.
So Luna, tell us something about yourself.
So hey, I'm Luna. I run Sensual Artistry. I'm originally from Australia, but I've lived in Berlin and Bali and spent a lot of time around Asia and Europe, as well as Australia. And I worked in the adult industry most of my adult life and as a performer, and then I started moving into running events and mixing the kind of kink and shibari with the kind of conscious ecstatic dance vibes, and then kind of moved into running temples and the Essential Arts Retreat. And last year I launched my first online course of Sensual Ropes, and I've been getting more into creating the Essential Arts School and bringing more of this stuff online, as well as teaching a lot of workshops and things. So I love this work and love connecting with you all.
Nice, thank you very much for this introduction. Now I have some questions for Sanya because, well, I know this from a personal conversation, but as well I have gone through your website and I have like some questions for you. Yeah. So on your website, you mentioned that you have this sexual abuse as a child, and as well you were given a lot of too much responsibilities as a child, and your father was emotionally absent. And then, farther away, all these childhood traumas manifested into physical diseases on your body, like with Hashimoto, chronic disease, and as well fibromyalgia. I don't know, I said it in Spanish, people will understand me. So tell me, when is the moment when you understood and you make this link, between the physical disease that were in your body and what had happened before?
Yeah, thank you. I think the physical link came when it all became like or the link, let's say, with emotions and my physical issues, because I realized like there's something happening and then the next thing is coming and the next thing is coming and the next thing is coming. So I had to look deeper. I had to look deeper and to start becoming friends with the idea that there is a lot also happening because my body is reacting. And when there is trauma in childhood, our body's emotions and those memories. And often when we don't work with them, it starts to be expressed as disease or discomfort or things that happen around us. And it was really powerful for me to start working with my sexuality consciously. Like sexuality was always a way for me to express myself. Very creative, I felt very free. And it was always a big exploring kink and BDSM. I felt so much liberation and becoming more me. And I could also tap into some traumas that then only would come up. So I didn't actually know what I was doing back then, but it worked, and it started for me to come closer to who I am and who I'm not, and like all those things together, they really helped me to heal a lot and to be so much more happy and confident and not without, but with way less pain than I used to be before.
So I guess working with the body, it has been like probably, what has helped you more, and embracing emotions maybe.
Yeah. My internet connection is really unstable. I'm sorry, I don't know why. Can you repeat your question?
Yeah. Yeah, my question is, so how important do you think is to engage the body on this healing journey?
Yeah, well, I think it's the crucible. It's the most important part. I was doing a lot of therapy when I was younger for, I don't know, like eating disorder and all this stuff. And I felt I had solved it with my head, but my body was still screaming. And everything that we remember, everything that we experience, gets imprinted in our body, in our cells. So when we work only with our head, that is a really important step. But eventually we have to include the body. Like, we are human beings, we have this body, the body feels a lot. And when we don't work holistically on our issues, but just on one part, we don't really make the full progress.
Thank you.
Yeah, very beautiful. I like to think that we're so powerful, the four of us coming together on this Zoom call, that this is why the Wi-Fi connection, the internet is unstable. Okay. So Luna, you've been sharing that you've been working in the adult industry also. We know that you have like many different jobs already, being a DJ, being a raver, being a super brilliant student, being a stripper, being a dress doll CEO, being this sensuality professional, sharing festivals and workshops and retreats, going into the coaching areas. From all these stages in your evolution, how have they impacted you today as a teacher?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's really given me a super broad perspective of life. Like, I've been part of so many different subcultures, as well as, working in the adult industry. I'm going to super high-end, Playboy events and things like that. So it's been a really interesting life, like seeing so many different realities and perspectives. So it kind of has helped me have like a different perspective to most people who wouldn't at all experience such contrast of being in like the mainstream world, as well as being, you know, some hitchhiking hippie, you know, collecting bottles and living in squats and stuff like that. So yeah, it's made me a very open-minded person, because I'm like, I've experienced so many different ways to like interact in this world. And it's also been very liberating. Like, I've really realized the thing that's tied all these different jobs and all these different experiences together is that kind of path towards liberation and challenging social norms and conditioning and all the kind of ways that society tell us to live. Like, I've always been this little punk ass rebel ever since I was, you know, quite young, like getting into punk. And, you know, if someone tells me to do something, I want to do the opposite and rebel against it. So yeah, it's definitely been this journey of going against what we're kind of programmed into thinking life is supposed to be like.
Yeah, thank you for sharing this. It's totally also something that I relate with as well, as like to do things different and to try to not follow the indoctrinated paths that we are supposed to. Otherwise we would sit somewhere with 3 children in the house and married all together. Right? So yeah. And on your website, it's also mentioned that you have had challenges with drug usage and with depression and with your health. So what has been your key to access your healing powers? As Sanja said, for her, it has been the body a lot. What was this for you?
Yeah, I mean, I'm very similar with Sanja, and we've connected a lot on this as well, because I also had, like, you know, chronic illness growing up and, you know, the depression and stuff like that. So, yeah, I mean, it was a slow process, but definitely, you know, the last few years, especially when I started doing somatic work and breath work and really like primal release and, you know, all these kind of tools of like getting in the body, yeah, it just changes everything really. And, you know, I was still up until only a few years ago experiencing chronic illness and stuff like that. And, you know, it still sometimes comes up and there's still bits and pieces floating around. It's not completely gone, but the change from, you know, even just a few years ago after really dropping into, somatic body-based work has been, incredible.
Yeah, thank you. It's very empowering to hear. I also suffered from Hashimoto, an autoimmune disease. So it's really super cool that we're all here, the 3 of us, having had something that society labels as you need to take medicines your entire life. You need to, this will affect you in your life forever. And we're all sitting here. None of us is taking medicines, right? We're really using our supplies, that what is inside of us to go through life. And yeah, I'm very happy for sharing this here. Thank you.
This is what empowerment is all about, you know, to take this responsibility about your body and your emotions and know that there is another path for self-healing, and exploring sexuality is one of those, you know, because it really impacts the whole system, the mind, the body, the spirit. You kind of engage everything as a whole, and it's really a fast track. Probably not an easy one. There is like a lot, but definitely something that works very well. So Sanja, I see your microphone is mute, and now I have a question for both of you. Perfect. So tell us, why do you feel this call to work on sex positive education? Why do you think this work is important?
Is that Sanja?
Sure. Because, I mean, when we start to heal our sexuality, like, we can experience so much freedom, and also just this, for me, it's a lot about reconnecting to pleasure, not making pain the focus of life. And by pleasure, I don't mean like seeking high ecstatic states of pleasure, but being able to find a pleasure in the little things of life, even beyond sexuality. But really joy of life, and freeing so many of us. Like, we are so much connected to shame and guilt, and it's all kind of heavy often when it comes to sexuality. So for me, this is really a beautiful way to healing from the core, like healing from the root. and then from there building everything else up. Yeah, I think that's really one reason why I'm so passionate about it, because it's this going straight to the core instead of fizzling around. Yeah.
Yeah, beautiful. What about you, Luna?
Yeah, well, I definitely feel, yeah, so much the same, that the sexuality is the core and the root of so much. And that, like, when I really looked at it, like, so many of these political issues in the world and problems that we're facing, like, you know, the reason why people act out and do like horrific things or overly consume or hurt each other or whatever, it all comes down to trauma and like our connection with other people. And, you know, if people weren't being, you know, sexually traumatized, you know, whether it was when they're young or as teenagers, because we're all completely, you know, uneducated and have terrible examples as teenagers. So a lot of us traumatize ourselves already before we're even adults. And then as adults, you know, continue these re-traumatizing patterns. And so many issues actually come down to like this trauma around relating and sexuality, then coming out as shadows and acting out in so many toxic ways, in so many ways in the world. So it's sort of like, if we can actually, yeah, go to that core and go to that root and break the cycles of trauma and, you know, have people be more embodied, more loving, more connected, more able to like build beautiful intimacy with other people, then that really does ripple out into like all other areas, even all the way to like climate change and stuff, because, you know, if people are having good relationships and they're healthy, then they're not like endlessly consuming all this bullshit that's then polluting the earth. So I think it really like is, you know, an issue that affects pretty much everything.
Mm-hmm. So this links very well with my next question, which is exactly, I mean, how you see this positive sex education impacting the world as a whole, you know? Well, as you mentioned, you know, like there is like so much healing that can be done not only on the micro level of a person, but more on the micro. And yeah, if you can maybe elaborate a bit there.
Yeah, well, like it's just, you know, if people were really embodied in their power, then they're not going to be controlled and manipulated as well. You know, like if, you know, when you really start owning your sexual power and you start owning like your essence and, you know, connecting in ways that feel nourishing and nourishing your body and not having shame around your body and how you touch it and stuff. And yeah, it really, you just interact so differently with reality. And I just, it's hard to even imagine, like if everyone in the world was just like fully empowered and embodied and just like loving themselves and life, like
yeah.
what a different world that would be. Like it's a fun little exercise to imagine it, you know.
Nice, beautiful utopia. But we are playing our part. We are playing our part, so it becomes a reality. So let's talk about the course. Let's talk about.
You don't want to pass this question to Sanya as well? Sanya, you want to add anything into the how sex positive education can save the world?
Yeah, I mean, I very much agree with what Luna said. And I think the only thing I want to add is maybe also like this importance of being connected and connecting to ourselves first. Like if we can't feel ourselves, if we don't know what it is that we want, how can we connect to others? If we don't have a lot of empathy for ourselves, it's really difficult to have it for others. And with the education around sex positivity or sexuality, there is a lot of education around consent and boundaries, which basically means tapping into knowing your no's and being able to say yes. So, and then if we take that on a bigger scale, this means like you become able to really say yes or no to things in your life around you. And if everybody of us would be able to speak up for themselves and honor these and know what they are, yeah, again, the world would look very different. And also because when we feel them in ourselves, we become very empathetic about the no's of others. So it really creates this connection and understanding and this feeling of we're in this together. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with that. You know, when you are like healing yourself and you start by this self-knowing, then you can see this outside. And of course, you feel more empathy and less judgments as well, because
Yeah.
the things that you are seeing outside is the things that you have inside, right?
So wonderful. Let's take a deep breath on this. Very good. So we're happy to be offering your mutual online course, The Art of Tantric Kink. And we would love to hear more about what is the course about, and especially this fusion of Tantra and Kink.
Yeah, so the course has a lot of different segments. We spent the first month of lockdown straight putting together so many of our combined knowledge and skills into this. And I mean, it's really about using BDSM and kink as like a liberation tool and as a tool for connecting deeper with yourself and with other people. And you know, Tantra is this beautiful, vast spiritual path, and it's, you know, really going into the neo-tantra world, but we're also you know, really keeping with that idea of like Tantra being this path towards liberation and consciousness expanding and awakening, and you know, that you can use BDSM practices to become more conscious, become more aware, to liberate yourself from shame and judgments and dualistic concepts of like what is, you know, who you are as a being. And it's just been such a like amazing tool in my life using BDSM, and I know the same for Sonia. So we really like resonated on this and got really excited to collaborate and put it into a place online, because, you know, we both teach in person, and, you know, in places like Berlin, you can go to these amazing workshops and retreats, and a few other places in the world, you know, you can find this. But for most people around the world, it's like they, you know, wouldn't have access to this. So it seemed like a beautiful thing to be able to put it online so that no matter where in the world people are, they can learn a little bit more about it.
Yeah, totally. I mean, you summed it up perfectly. And I think also really our course is a lot about bridging between those two worlds. And especially when you're going to a lot of workshops, also here in Berlin, for example, there's been quite a lot of things about kink, and there's been a lot of things about Tantra. And we both, like Luna and I, we know it's like there's almost nothing outside that openly speaks about the combination of both. But this is what I found myself being doing for many years, just naturally, and Luna the same. And so we really felt like there's such in creating more consciousness and awareness around it, because like Tantra can totally complement and kind of add so much to the kinky and BDSM world. And the other way around, like Tantra also deals a lot with shadows and with experiencing your limitations and expanding that. So they are so connected, but in the public approach and on the public side, people often think this is like completely opposite, and you can never put that together. Yeah.
We totally agree. We are also in Blix all about this combination of Tantra and BDSM. And for me, my path has been the same. I started with Tantra and I learned all about it. And then after 4 years of practicing Tantra, then I went to the BDSM, and, you know, like having this presence and this awareness while experiencing BDSM was just like, wow, just a revelation, and say, wow, this is who I am. So very well. We have loved the course, and we see like a lot of benefits of people are going to take from this course. And one of the major benefits that we really like is this liberation of shame. And I like that because shame goes like so deep, you know, so deep. And I remember my first spanking session that I experienced when I was already a very grown adult around my early 30s. And suddenly I remember being myself, judging myself, being there and being really enjoying the session and just judging myself a lot for being, for enjoying, you know, these practices, which is maybe, you know, not very conventional. So yeah, this is my personal experience with shame and why I found this really, really important.
I would be curious from Sanya to hear what was your biggest liberation of shame in your life?
Yeah, I think, I mean, for me, when I started with King, I didn't have any shame. I don't know why, I don't know how. I was always super open about it. I was so excited about it. And I would talk to anyone who did ask me. Like I had friends, and when I had my first encounters with people or parties, I would tell all the details. And so the liberation here for me really was to do things that I had fantasized or imagined about before. And I thought I'm pretty much alone. And then I found out, oh, there's so many more people and I can actually talk about it. And there's certainly been people who've been judging me, but there's been so many people who did actually resonate. There's been so many people, like I had 2-3 girlfriends and started then also to trying. So I felt like, wow, like I kind of started that conversation and creating that space then also for others to tap in. And I really, that was when I started to have major shifts in my health, like when a lot got better, because I was not, maybe it wasn't so much the shame, but just being able to live also who I am and to do the things, you know, that was just like a whole new world for me, basically.
Yeah, thank you. You also have this included in the course, right? This you're talking about living out your fantasies. There's a part that's going around fantasy play as an add-on to work with the liberation of shame. I really like that. Yeah, Luna, what is your biggest liberation of shame, and how is this represented in the course?
Yeah, it's hard to pick necessarily just one, you know, it's such a like process over so many years. But, you know, when I moved to Berlin, there was actually a lot of shifts, and I'd already been like a stripper and a fetish performer and stuff for a lot of years. So I would thought of myself as pretty like sexually empowered and liberated. I was like, you know, oh yeah, like I publicly dance around and do kinky stuff, but then actually being at a party and being tied up and being in a group sexual situation in public, it was a really big radical shift for me, because there was this part of me that was like, oh, like you're not that person and you can't enjoy this. And then like being tied up and surrendering to the experience and surrendering to be like, well, this feels good and this actually feels right, and I'm allowed to enjoy myself, like it doesn't make me a slut or whatever. Like, yeah, it was a really big shift in my identity that I'd perceived about myself, like about like who I was, which is interesting because, you know, there was this part of me that was like an exhibitionist and a performer, but then for my own sexual pleasure, my own sexual experience, that wasn't just about entertaining people or fulfilling their fantasies, but from my own fantasy and my own thing, there was still like a lot of resistance. So yeah, that was like one big experience that I really felt like giving myself permission to have that. Yeah, so we talk a lot around that, like, you know, these identities that you kind of create about yourself, and this idea of like, you know, the girl versus the whore kind of complex, and how through fantasy and through creating a safe conscious container to like explore these energies, how we can like liberate these suppressed feelings around our identity.
Yeah, wonderful. So my next question around the course would be, what are the people looking for who are participating in this course? So one big question or one big part is the liberation of shame, but who else would be the target participants of this online course?
So this online course is really for anyone who's interested in kink or tantra. And so what we said is like people who are coming from kink backgrounds might be looking for some more tools to make it more conscious, to have better communication, to really also be able to drop into deeper connection with the play partner. So people from kink, coming from the kink side or the kink experience, they might want to add some tantric practices into their play. And there's the people who have first connected to tantra, and they might want to tap a bit more into the shadow parts and, like what we said, the liberation and the shame and these things. So coming from one of those sides, you can really use the course to add the other part that has been maybe out for you there, but you didn't really know how to incorporate with it. And I mean, there's often the question, but what do we actually do to bring the tantra into kink? So this is all in the course. There's many tools and practices and exercises for that. And the course is also really for all genders. So tantra often gets is a bit how you say, splitting people, polarizing, because it's talking a lot about masculine and feminine. And we made this course really for all genders. So this is not something that is emphasized. It's really not a topic in there. It really does not matter what configuration and what combination you are, what age you are. If you are a single or a couple, it's really for you to learn those things, and whenever meeting another person, maybe practicing. So if you're a single, you might as well do the course and be prepared for like to find your partner or someone to play with. And if you're a couple, you can do the exercises together. Yeah.
Wonderful. So you said it's for kinky people to add more tantra and for tantric people to discover a little bit more kink. Could it be also a course for somebody who has no experience in either or?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. Like it's, a really good introduction. We also cover a lot of basic like safety and trauma awareness and really introductory practices. We just, kind of imagine that for a lot of people, like tantric kink, when you have not experience in both, might be like a big topic. So, we focus on people that are already maybe familiar with either. But yeah, if someone's like complete beginner to both, then they'll still get like a lot out of it because we cover so many basic to advanced techniques and practices in there.
Wonderful. So can you summarize what could be the 3 top learnings for participants of the course?
So things that people are gonna get.
I mean, honestly, there's so many depending on your personal intention that you're going into the course with. Like, I do struggle to summarize it, but well, as we said, like really becoming more comfortable in expressing yourself and that transferring into other parts of your life, like backing up your self-confidence with about who you are. I think another really big one is because we put so much focus on really good and building connection. So even if we take away like the focus from tantra or kink, but there's so much about connection building and about allowing to be seen and to see someone else. I think that can be a really beautiful takeaway. And the other one is, I guess, a lot of fun and creative ideas how to explore and play with your sexuality and how to use that for other bigger life topics, basically. Yeah, that would be my three ones. I'm curious what Luna says.
Yeah, I mean, I think definitely those three, but another one I'd add is just really grounded practical tools. You know, like we cover just a lot of kink and how to do it safely and how to do it well. Like, and that's something, you know, you can have all these great intentions and really want to like be a good lover for someone, but if you don't know the practicalities of how to do a good spanking session, like a lot of people, you know, they'll be there with their intention and holding space, but then they don't actually know the technique to do it in a way that won't hurt them or won't hurt their partner. So we really cover a lot of that as well. So yeah, I think safe practical skills and knowing, you know, anatomy and what you're doing so that you can do it as safe as possible is super important. So we included a lot of that in the course too.
Yeah, very beautiful. Thank you for doing the work and for summing up so many different aspects of Tantra and kink into one piece that is accessible for everybody from everywhere at any moment in time. I really appreciate this masterpiece that you co-created.
Yeah, I have to agree. This is a masterpiece, you know, just bringing together these two arts of consciousness and sexuality at the same time. And yeah, putting everything together and breaking up all the taboos about gender roles and
you're stuck there.
Connecting there from all the possibilities that we are.
Yeah. Your video is frozen, Beatrice. I don't know.
Yeah, I am frozen. So anyway, we are at the end of this, and the last two questions that are questions that we are going to ask to everybody that passed by this section are when you hear Blix, what comes to your mind?
Let's go Luna first to break the pattern a little bit.
It's funny because you know, knowing you two, like what just came to my mind was I was in Koh Phangan and the booby bump on the forehead. The blessing of the boob.
Wonderful. Priestess blessing. Yes.
Yeah, for me it's well, exactly this. A lot of fun and beautiful simplicity and depth in that, and yeah, just some working, some how you say, some amazing sister colleagues.
Thank you.
You, and what is this single thing that allows both of you to feel more bliss?
Do you want to say Sonia first?
Can you repeat the question?
Yeah. What is this single thing that allows you to feel more bliss?
Feeling me, and like even now when I thought about it, what I do is like I go inside and I drop inside into my heart and into my pussy, and I feel some tingling and aliveness there, and I'm like, bam. So I think the connection and yeah.
Yeah, I definitely feel the same, that just like getting inside the body, bringing all the consciousness and awareness like into the sensations and into the body, and just really like dropping in and being there.
Juicy. Wonderful. Yeah, thank you for your time. Thank you for your being. Thank you for raising awareness and contributing through all that you are to sex positive education movement and changing the world to a better place.
Woo! Thank you too as well. We love you. Go Blix!
We love you. Choo choo. Blix, Blix.
For all of you, just go and buy this course. So you can get a transmission from these beautiful films. You get a direct transmission and you get to learn, you know, many of the things that they have learned through a very interesting and full path. So you can just get it as simple as buying the course and then years of
experienceblix.com/resources.
Pew!
Pew!
Oh, thank you so much.
Thank you.
everybody.
Much love.
Bye-bye.
Bye bye.